While many individuals are eager to stay informed about global events, not everyone has the time or capacity to prioritize their mental well being. It's important to recognize how the constant influx of information can significantly impact on our health, both positively and negatively. We will delve into mental health awareness and its various dimensions. While our discussions may touch on related topics, we will consistently focus on health and well being. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Um, I'm Trinacia. I'm your host, and I have my co-host Caesar here, and we have a special guest, Catayla.
Hello, hello, hello.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
So we're gonna break the ice.
Breaking the ice.
We're not gonna go deep for the starters, but today's topic is the aftermath with dealing with a personal loss.
What episode is this?
This will
Episode 3?
yes,
Okay.
yes. So, for starters, you guys have a personal relationship.
Since how long? We've been friends since. Ooh, we go back to nappy head,
No perms.
no lotion, running around ashy,
Yeah.
nose
project.
snotty,
Yeah.
in the projects.
In the projects.
In Wichita Falls.
948 Humphreys.
Woo.
Okay, it's a lot of history here. So
76301.
I don't know the zip
76301.
code. I don't know.
76307. Yep. Well, anyway, Bailey Street Projects.
Exactly.
okay. Didn't know that. Well,
Now you know.
passing it over to the host of the show.
Okay, so we brought Catayla. I'm gonna call her Tay.
Thank you.
Tay nickname. So we are talking about personal deaths, or losing a loved one. I had to bring her on. She lost her son. It's been 2 years?
Nope.
It's been,
It's been
is it?
1 year and 10 months.
Okay.
Okay.
Almost 2.
Oh, January.
He died the day after my birthday.
Okay. Brandon. Woo. I've been around since Brandon was a baby.
Yeah.
Play basketball, close to my son. Same age actually.
Yeah.
So let's dive into it. So Brandon was diagnosed with
It's called renal. Oh, you have to give me a moment because it's a certain kind of kidney cancer. So it's renal medullary kidney carcinoma, but it's not the actual kidney. It's the renal part, which is the part that the medullary part, which is the part that makes the cancer difficult to treat.
Okay.
Had it been regular kidney cancer, they would have removed his kidney, hit him with some chemo, and that's it. With this one, it was a different animal, and it's a very rare form of cancer. Like, there's only one doctor here in Dallas that could treat it, and one in Houston at MD Anderson.
Now, did they say this is something that's genetic? Is it like hereditary? What is it? I know you said it's a rare form.
So I have the sickle cell trait.
Right.
And usually males do not have it, but I passed that trait to 3 of my 4 boys. And so he had it, but he's the only one that exhibited sickle cell symptoms as I do.
Okay.
So basically, the doctor at MD Anderson has said it's because he was in sports and he beat his body up so much that it will cause the person to have this rare form of cancer because they can't exercise and overexert like someone without the trait.
And because he had the trait, this is what?
This is a result of the trait.
A result of the trait along with the over exercising and working it. Okay.
So you see it in young African American men between the ages of think they said like 17 and 22. And
So this
he
is
fit all
something
the
that he
criteria.
could not have been tested for prior. You know how you're in school and they do the what is it where they test your spine.
No. So because it's so rare, we don't know any genetic testing. Like they can't genetically test his son.
Because he doesn't carry. First of all, he doesn't carry the trait, right?
He does.
Oh, he does
We
carry the
just
sickle
found
cell.
out he does. So he's
okay.
been diagnosed with sickle cell. Then they said it wasn't sickle cell. Then they said it's the trait. But at the same time, his doctor and MD Anderson said like we would probably never ever see this again. It's like less than 3% that a person would get it.
So how do we test the next generation? You know what I mean? Like, how do we prepare them, like young African American boys? First of all, how old were you when you realized you had the trait of sickle cells?
I found out when I was pregnant with Brandon. Is when they said, "Oh, you have the sickle cell trait. We have to test for that." But my whole life, and I'm pretty sure you remember this, I would always be like, "Oh, I'm hurting. My legs hurt. I'm hurting." Times where I wouldn't go outside because you just ache, and I can't explain it.
And that's another thing. Like, how do we, growing up, how do we alert our parents and say, "Oh, my body's aching," and they say, let's go to the doctor and get you tested for everything. You know what I mean? Or because you could have found out sooner, right?
About the trait?
Yeah.
My mama knew.
So your mom, okay.
But again, they tell you don't worry about it. I've always been told with Brandon, don't worry about it. I told him he has a trait. Don't worry about it. Oh, it's nothing. And for me,
wow,
I don't think doctors should tell parents that.
Right.
Because you told me that, and I've been in the medical field for 19 years, and I'm like, oh, okay, you're fine.
Right. That's kind of like I'm gonna probably get off subject a little bit. My son recently just had open heart surgery.
Right.
it'll be a year in February.
Yes. So last February, my son was born with a heart murmur. When he was a baby, he was born premature.
He had the glaucoma, right?
He had the glaucoma on his left eye. They were supposed to do surgery. For some reason, praying intervention. He didn't have to, so the glaucoma cleared with some drops. We were told he had a heart murmur, and we went to do checkups, nothing, and then fast forward the tape, he's 7 years old. They tell us he needs surgery.
Like all of a sudden. And the reason why they decided to take him in was because he was breathing hard when he was working out or whatever, running and playing.
He loved
so he showed
soccer.
So he started showing signs
Okay.
recently.
Okay.
And what else? He was snoring when he sleep.
Well, yeah, the snoring and
Asthma.
yeah, the asthma, and also the way his heart was beating was different. So, like, I remember, like, 2 summers ago, they called from camp and say he's saying his chest hurt.
And we didn't know what that meant. We was like, he'll be all right, right?
Oh,
He'll
so
be
he
all right.
was feeling the palpitations.
Yep.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
And then he was tired. We were like, why are you so tired? You just started running. Like, again, years fast forward and didn't know what was going on.
So his heart, the way the heart murmur was between his pulmonary and aortic valve. So it's causing some kind of termination or stuff like that, to where it was causing a little complication. So fast forward the tape, we went in for the surgery.
It was an emergency. Like, they were like, oh, he needs to have it.
Now, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, by the grace of God, everything came out, spectacular. But, one of the things they were talking to us, the doctor said, we're not allowed to tell you he's going to be 100%, but we're expecting him to make a fast recovery. Which he has, by the grace of God, no complications at this point. We've been, since last
Almost a
February.
year in.
Yeah, almost a year in. So, but touching on that, sometimes we don't understand in certain situations when doctors speak to us, like you said, you had a sense of security based on their professional status or whatever. But we also neglect they're humans too, so
Right.
they're gonna make those medical errors
Mhm.
or misdiagnosis.
Right.
In that, with that being said, I can't say I understand
Right.
with the loss of your son, but just going through the motions, I understood that you went through a lot going to the
Okay.
hospital and stuff like that, and how that impacted you in your day to day basis. Um, Dealing with siblings, younger siblings, and your grandson as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
I can just imagine how tough it is because when my son went into surgery, that was the most
It's so
4
scary
hours of my
Yeah.
life.
because you have no control.
No,
You have absolutely no control, and it's scary
And
because he did have surgery.
I'm gonna say this for Brandon. He played the tough role. He didn't want you to know that he was hurting or in pain.
He
I
would be
mean,
like, "I'm good."
yep.
That's his saying,
Yep.
and that was the last thing he said before he took his last breath. We good, Mama. But he was more like, "Let's go,
right.
Yeah.
let's go." But he had his moments, like because he knew a month before he told me. So he actually
So the doctor told him.
so he had been like I found out afterwards. He had been like the month before. He had been like throwing up, shaking, like just all these
He
symptoms.
kept that to himself. You didn't know this.
I didn't notice because he didn't live with me.
Right.
He had moved out, but it was happening with the girlfriend, with Ivy, his son's mom. So on January the 1st, he threw up in the bed with them, and he was embarrassed. So he went December 1st. He passed that at work. They went to the hospital, JPS, and the lady told, or the guy or whoever, the physician told him, like, I think you have cancer, gave him the disc and told him to follow up with his
Primary.
And if I knew that person's name, we'd have a stern conversation because the reaction from like, hey, you leave. I'm in the medical field. I've worked in oncology. That is not what we do.
Right.
He should have been admitted, and I
Yeah.
know that he should have been admitted. But fast forward January the 1st, he was embarrassed about that. So he called me. He said, "Can you take me to the hospital?" I said, "Yeah." I said,
What was
What-
what was he? Okay, so when he asked you to take him to the hospital, what was it for? Take him to the hospital for what?
So
What
when
did say?
he went, because he went a couple times, he was like, "Oh, they said I got a kidney infection." I said, "Brandon, males don't get kidney infection."
But I remember you telling me that too. You said it was yeah, you did. You said he had a kidney infection.
So I said, "Send me your discharge paperwork." He sent me the second page. I said, "Where's the first page?" Because the first page says your diagnosis. He didn't reply. He was like, "I'm taking this medicine." So then he kept sending me different
Like screenshots of but not the full.
no, his research that what he thought was wrong with him. Now they told him he had cancer, but he would send he thought it was this, he thought it was that. And I'm like, Brendan, if they are telling you that it's a UTI or a kidney infection, why are we looking this up? Why are you sending this to me? So let's stop playing because I've been doing this for 19 years.
Right.
Oh, I was just saying because my back hurt. Okay, fine. So I seen him on Christmas Day, and he walk in, and I'm like, Brendan lost weight, but it's
And
Christmas
you still
Day.
didn't know he had cancer, but he knew.
She knew too,
The girlfriend.
but he didn't want to ruin Christmas.
And then your birthday's coming up after that.
Then my birthday, so he had his first chemo on my 40th,
Okay.
and then he died a year later, the day after my birthday. So he come in, I'm like, okay, he lost weight. So I'm like, something's up. Okay, not going to trip today, Christmas, whatever. And then I noticed he wouldn't pick Kaden up. She was picking Kaden up. I didn't say nothing. I was like, okay, I'm going to call him tomorrow.
Okay.
So fast forward, didn't call. We never had the conversation.
Okay.
But he ended up, he called. We go to the hospital. He sat there the whole time knowing she's calling, saying something to him, and he's fussing. And I'm like, Brenda, why are you fussing? Like, y'all need to stop this, da-da-da-da. Because she was on the phone saying, Brendan, tell your mom. And he was saying no. So the doctor comes in, she fell on him. She started asking him questions, and he's like, yes, I'm tired, I'm fatigued, da-da-da. She says, I think you have mono. But let me see if it's in your spleen, because that's different.
Okay.
Go get a scan.
And you still not knowing he has cancer. But mono, is that a part of?
No, she just thought it because it's symptoms.
Okay. But she already knew he has cancer, but she didn't know you didn't know.
The girlfriend knew. The doctor thought he had mono because he was fatigued.
Right.
Okay.
He never said, I'm throwing up, I'm in pain, I'm this, I'm that. He never said any other symptom. So she goes to get him a scan, but she did his abdomen and pelvis because she wanted to see his spleen. She come back, and she's pale.
Okay.
And she sat in front of him. He still didn't say nothing. And she said, Brandon, you have kidney carcinoma. And then I'm sitting there, me and Jordan, because Jordan is with me. I'm sitting there, and I'm like, okay, medical terms, Catayla, medical terms. And I was like, kidney carcinoma? I was like, hold on. This is Brandon Mitchell. She was like, I know. And I just got up and walked out. And then Jordan says, that's not right. Brandon don't have cancer. He's the strongest person I know. And then Brandon flips out and just starts like, I want to leave and all this stuff. And she's like, no, like you need emergency treatment because it went to his lymph nodes as well. So she was like, no, you need emergency treatment. Then I'm like, Brandon, stop going off. We're going to get kicked out the hospital. Like, you have to stay. And this is on Dennis's birthday. So Dennis was turning 18 that day. And he probably wouldn't.
So basically, Brandon didn't want it to affect anything, like Christmas, your birthday, Dennis' birthday.
So I don't know when his day was going to be, and then also, let's not forget, my fiance died just a few years before from cancer.
Lung cancer?
No, his was pancreatic.
Pancreatic cancer. Okay.
So he was like, Mama's going to flip out. Yeah. Which, I mean, I did. Yeah.
So as far as like the timeline, let's say, how long did it take for them to diagnose him for you to find out? Like, what was that time?
So he found out December 1st.
Okay.
I found out January 2nd. Okay. So that was a month. But he was in the hospital for a week. They're doing like scans and stuff because they could see that it was kidney cancer, but it was weird. Okay. Like this is not the typical, it's not the typical one. So it took them a couple of weeks to figure out that it was the renal medullary kidney carcinoma. And when we went to the oncologist, this guy's like, I don't know what this is. I can read about it and I can try to treat you from there. And I was like, no.
Right.
You're not going to touch my son. And he referred us to UT Southwestern. He said, well, I know one doctor at UT Southwestern. And so we actually had to get accepted. But when they read his case, and then the medical director of Baylor Waxahachie called her, she took him. So it was like 2 months before treatment started.
So do you think if treatment was started sooner, it could have been a different outcome?
That's a good question. But you can't question God's will.
Right. Absolutely.
Because then it's not fair. And then if I did that, then I would be mad at God. So it was his will. It was his will. So, and that's just, that helps me go forward.
Yeah.
Definitely. And would you say throughout the process, being so invested and trusting that God had a plan for you and your son's life, for this to take place. But on a mental note, how can other parents dealing with your situation, or other individuals dealing with the same loss or family, emotionally,
What type of advice? Like,
what advice? Yeah, definitely.
did you go to therapy? Did you ever?
No.
Okay.
So, but
Okay.
that's coming. Because when
Okay.
you're going through it, you're in survival mode.
True.
Right.
You're in survival mode. I need to make sure that he's eating. I knew he needed to gain 5 pounds before chemo so he could lose weight.
But and also he has a son too, so you having to deal with that. Talk to his son.
Then we had
Yeah.
Caden.
Yep.
And so with that, like, you're in survival mode, you're praying. I didn't read about like statistics. My sister in California, she was like, don't read about it.
Yeah.
Let me read about it.
Okay.
So she read about it, but I had already took a snippet and I had already seen that the rates, there has been people that survived. Very slim.
Okay.
because
it's rare and they don't have a proper treatment. Or
Correct.
It's
correct.
very hard to treat. It's very hard to treat, and that's the part that you just have to say it was God's will, because they cleared him 3 times.
Okay.
Like he was cleared for surgery. His lymph nodes was clear. They cleared him for surgery. And he had his kidney removed.
I remember that.
It was supposed to be like a 4-hour surgery. It turned into like 6, because this surgeon was like, I got everything that I thought was a lymph node. Then like maybe 21 days later, he started coughing. I was like, Brendan, you don't cough. Like, what's up? I thought he had a blood clot. So I called his doctor. I went in the room behind his back, and I was like, I need you to call Brendan and tell him he needs to go to the doctor to get a chest x-ray. So we go to the ER, and they seen nodules in his lungs. So he restarted treatment. And then we're still working with MD Anderson. They had a trial. He missed the first one because he was fine. Like, when we went to MD Anderson, the doctor was like, I really don't think that you're going to come back. I'll see you in a year.
Oh,
That's how well he was doing.
Okay. That was after his kidney surgery.
It was before.
Oh, okay.
So chemo make people sick. It didn't do that with him. He was hyper. He would go do chemo. He'd go play basketball after chemo. The next day, he'd go play basketball. Like, he was ripping and running. It made him hungry.
He, from the description that you're describing, I didn't have a chance to meet him, but from the description that you're giving, it sounds like Brandon was not giving up.
Right.
He was fighting.
And he wanted y'all to see that he was not giving up.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't walk around worried about him.
Yeah, and then he would lie if he had to. I'm fine. Like, boy, you've been laying in the bed for 2 days.
So do you think he really was not, do you think he really had the energy, or do you think he was just doing that?
No, the chemo made him hyper.
Okay.
The chemo made him hyper. He'd be hyper at the place.
Oh.
And then he took steroids, like, I think for 3 or 5 days. So he'd be hyped up and ready to go play. If he didn't feel good, he'd lay down. He didn't care. But like he wouldn't lose his appetite. But when he started doing that, then I knew that the cancer was active again. Right. When he didn't want to go play basketball or laying around, or he didn't want to eat, because he never turned down chicken casserole. You turning down chicken casserole. We need to have a conversation. So that was my telltale for him. But I mean, he had fun. I can tell you that. With the time he had fun, because I know the stories.
Yeah.
So, and it was certain things. He's like, Mom, I never got to stay out all night before, and da-da-da. I was like, well, go stay out all night, Brandon.
And he did.
He didn't like, he was like, I am not doing that no more. Because he likes to sleep in his own bed.
Right.
So, but it was certain things that he just wanted to do. I'm like, oh, okay, go do it.
Yeah, so.
And we are going on 2 years in
January 29th.
How has life been?
How do you describe it? I could say a mess, but then you wake up every day.
Right.
I still have my kids. And I still have his son. So how do you describe life? It's just one. I don't like. I used to be like, okay, I got to do this all week and blah blah blah. I'm not like that. It's one day at a time. I got to get through today,
Right.
because that's all I got. And if that's getting up, taking a shower, and going back in my bed, I feel like I accomplished something. I took a shower.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know me, I'm on the go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not that person anymore. But
And how have you, the school, the coaches, kept his memory alive? I know they've been drawing pictures, doing.
we're not gonna talk about the school.
Uh-oh. Okay.
He was very hurt on how they did. Because he's like, Mama, I tore my body up. I invite the guys to my chemos and they don't come. His nurse the night before he died was actually his head coach niece. And she just looked, all the nurses did the same thing. She came in, she was like, did you play basketball? Because he's so tall. And he said yes. She said, for what school? And she said Lancaster. Or he said Lancaster. And she was like, oh, my uncle's is Doug or whatever. And so he was like, because he felt like he had some personal feelings.
They wasn't there for him at his lowest.
Right. And then just with basketball, like you barely let him play and things like that. So just his own personal whatever. So she said, you should tell him. And he kind of sat there, and I was like, well, Brandon, do you want me to text him? He was like, yeah. So I texted him, and he just sent a text back like something like, sorry for your loss, or sorry, whatever. I told him he was on hospice. Mm-hmm. And he was just basically like, sorry. Did they come to the funeral? They did.
Yeah.
The coach that he really loved, Coach Bernard, we was in contact throughout the whole, and Coach said we were in contact throughout the whole thing. And they were there.
I remember. Yeah, I remember them being there.
Yeah. So they were there, but his head coach, sorry. But now who did the painting is actually someone my sister used to date. One of my sisters used to date. Okay. Or who paid for it, I'm sorry. Okay. Now, Ray that did the painting did go to Lancaster.
Okay.
So they did, that was something that he just called and he was like, what are you doing? I'm like, nothing. And he's like, well, is your family available, da-da-da? And I was like, no. He was like, well, I want to give you something for Duke, because that's Brandon's nickname. I was like, okay. Because he used to cut Brandon hair, too. JC used to cut Brandon hair, too. So when he walked in, I had already been on Facebook with that painter because I wanted him to do a picture of Brandon and Caden, but we never got to it. Right. And I was like, oh, man, I know you. I was like, I think we're Facebook friends. I think I wanted you to do a painting for my son. Didn't even realize the man had a painting in his hand. Because I'm just like, oh, my God, I know you. And then they presented it. That was just out of nowhere. And then they did an orange out before his first chemo. He had his first chemo. They did an orange out.
See, I remember all that. So that's why I thought everybody was there.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Not the way he expected. But for me, it's like who's in your corner is supposed to be in your corner.
Absolutely.
But no, they did an orange out. One of the basketball moms collected money or whatever.
Okay.
I don't know what happened with that. I think they gave it to Brandon. Then we did the paint. They did the painting, or Ray did the painting, but they don't do it much to me. I mean, but I don't expect them to. It's my child, right? I wanted to do a scholarship and present it to someone at the school in his name, but we just have the God Soldiers little league football team.
That's where, his memory. And that's who Cadence play for. Okay,
it's hilarious, and I'm a coach.
So the transition, you're getting outside your comfort zone, doing things.
Nah, that's not outside her comfort zone.
Well, I'm asking.
I'm good with little. I'm good with the littles. I'm good with the
Okay.
littles because you could tell them. You can convince a little, but like like he said, he wanted to coach his son in sports,
Right.
and it actually was presented. I was marketing for someone else, and I'm just playing with the little kids or whatever because it was a pediatric clinic. And the athletic person was like, you should be a football coach. I was like, and I'm also a female.
What?
And she was like, she's like, I think you should. I was like, no, I don't think I should. And then she goes, well, what would make you do it? I said, if you would let me name it God Soldiers after my son. And she said, okay. So I said, okay.
Awesome.
And we actually won every game except one.
Okay, so football season, is it going on right now? Or y'all just finished?
We didn't do it this year.
Okay.
But it's just a month. We do the month of October, so we do we do not tryouts. We do practice, and then I do the shorter term because not a long time.
So just the 1 month, October.
We just do the month of October, and like at the end they'll do switch their little jerseys to breast cancer because my sister survived breast cancer, so that's why I chose the month of October.
Okay. And what's the age range?
Whatever age Caden is. So I had 3-year-olds.
So each year it's going up because he's going up, right?
No, because I'm not doing. No,
This is it.
Yeah, and I'll do it this year.
So we just passed this year. So next year in October.
Yeah, I do that. But
and he'll be how old then?
He's turning 4 in like 9 days.
We definitely need to keep this going.
Yeah,
though.
no, for real.
For
real.
So what's going to happen is one of my close friends lost her son.
Okay.
And her younger son plays football. So him and Dennis, my son, Junior was my coach.
Yeah.
He was the quarterback. So Dennis and him they'll collab, and we just do it through the YMCA. I don't want all the seriousness of AAU and these people trying to live through their kids. No,
Yeah.
we just want to go out and we want to have fun.
Just have fun.
And then with Caden, he's so sweet and innocent. He don't know, like, no.
You don't want the aggression coming.
Not even the aggression. I think I had a dad, like, he walked on the field. I'm like, your baby 3.
Walked on the field to do what?
His son pushed one of the kids, and the little boy thought he was a ninja. Was like,
You gotta love kids. Kids.
Dad like comes running on the field. I'm like, he's 3. That what are we doing?
Wow.
So I don't want that.
Okay.
I don't want the fun taken out of it. But and then Caden's goddad, which was Brendan's first friend, is doing basketball. He's gonna
In his honor.
In his honor.
Okay.
Awesome. Gotta love it.
Wow.
I kind of want to, like, if I may, I don't want to overstep, but just continue speaking on the process that you're taking on your day-to-day basis. Because earlier you mentioned, God, and I wanted to make sure that, your steps are guided, right?
Right.
And any way or form you may need support or help in this process, we can highlight that. And since you're a friend of the family, practically family,
Right. Sis.
Exactly.
So this is just raising awareness for other parents that had taken this loss on a day-to-day coping. Building your circle, you speaking on keeping his legacy alive, taking care of your grandson, making sure your son is always remembered. From the description, Beam of Life, I wish I would have met him because he sound like my type of guy. Like, like yeah,
For real.
yeah, like true soldier. And I love the fact that you named his team God Soldiers. How did that come about?
He actually did that.
Really?
So,
He wanted to coach. Remember, he wanted to coach his son.
or he would just say like I'd be like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry this happened to you. I wish it was me." Da da da. And he would say, "Mama, it had to be me. I'm God's soldiers. I'm God's son. I got it."
Yeah.
And so he did.
No, you just gave me chills on the back of my spine because it's like, God give his hardest battles to his strongest soldier. And you mentioning that's something that I always said.
Right.
No matter what the situation may be, we must endure it.
Yep.
He did.
Absolutely.
He said he was like, "Mama, I'm God's soldier." So I would be like, "Oh my God, my son, my son, my son," and he would correct me, "Mama, I'm God's son. Stop it." Even so, they wanted to do. He got to where he couldn't walk. We're trying to figure out like, what's up? Why can't he walk? So they was like, "Well, we're gonna do an MRI of his brain or his spine. This is on my birthday. You just told me he wasn't gonna make it." I'm like, "This is my birthday." I was like, "No." So at this point, I'm power of attorney. And I was saying no. And he was saying yes. And I was saying no. And I told the anesthesiologist, I said, "He's not going to wake up. I've been doing this 19 years. He's not going to wake up." And I felt like he wouldn't wake up. So he's sitting there and I'm crying. I was like, "Oh my God, Mama." And he was like, "Mama, what is wrong with you? We just got done praying. We are God's soldiers. Stop acting like that. I am God's soldier. Stop it." And I just shut up. I was like, "You know what?" And I walk out, and he told his nurse, I think her name was Heather. I'll never forget her. She was the sweetest thing. He was like, "I want to do it. I want to see what's wrong." And she came out. She was like, "He want to do it." And then they was like, "Okay, let's see." He had fluid on his abdomen. She was like, "Well, let's see. Let's do a peritonesis, and we'll try to get the fluid off his stomach, and then we'll see if we can put him to sleep." Because prior MRIs, he couldn't lay there. He couldn't. It hurt. So I'm like, so they wanted to put him to sleep so that they could do the MRI. And I was like, well, if he can't lay there awake, he not gonna wake back up, because when you're under anesthesia, part of it is you waking up.
Yeah.
Like you
Absolutely.
you have to want to wake up.
Right.
So when he went and he did the peritonesis, I left the hospital like to do something. I don't know. But he called, he's like, "Where you at?" And I was like, "I'm on my way back." And he was like, "Mama, I was crashing out. They had to get me." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He was like, "Mama, I was crashing out." So that's when they knew that they couldn't do the MRI.
Had y'all ever had that talk, you and Brandon?
No.
No.
So the talk was Corey, my twin. So, of course, they don't know. I have a twin. So him and Corey would, like, go off and be gone all day. And he would tell Corey, like, watch over my son's mom, make sure she get her bank account, and, "Oh, she not good with money," like he was. Like, bro, you buy Jordans every week. Hold on now. But it was certain things he wanted to make sure, why don't let nobody mess with her, watch over my son. So they would have these conversations without me. Now, when Corey came to the hospital, first he wanted the room empty for some reason. Whatever, I forgot what it was about, but he kind of gave me the look, and I was like, "Oh, y'all, let's go to the waiting room." Corey was sitting behind him, and Corey sat there, and he told Corey, "I'm done, Unc. I'm tired." And Corey told me later. He didn't tell me then.
Right.
And he was like, "Mama's trying to figure out stuff, because I'm in the medical field. I've seen cancer. Let's try this. And Corey come out. He was like, you can't do that, sis. Just if you want him to do something," because he wouldn't eat. And that's what I was fussing about. And he was like, just tell the doctors to do. Just tell them to tell him. But he just wants you to be his mama. So at that point, like, he wanted me to stop. I guess, I don't want to say trying to save him. He wanted me to understand what was going on because he knew, and they had already told us. I mean, he shook the doctor's hand when they told him, and I was like, Brandon, do you know what he just said? And he was like, yes, Mama. And he told him, yes, sir.
So the description that you're giving, it sounds like Brandon was prepared mentally, spiritually.
Yeah.
And I want to say partially physically because you know what you can endure physically if your mental is prepared.
Yeah.
Even through all those transitions, he stayed fast. It's like me personally, I take it from like the struggles of Job in the Bible. You know, no matter how Job was afflicted, God, he always said, God give it and God take it away.
Yeah.
So with that being said, understanding the mindset of Brandon at those difficult times, kind of can give you a sense of relief, in a way of, you know, his mental. Did he suffer? Did he, you know, yeah, he was in pain, but like when I mean suffering, it's like, you know, he could have been triggered by anxiety in those moments. He could have, you know, panicked in some times. But from what you're describing, you describing a soldier at battle. You know, no surrender, no retreat.
Yeah.
And he was at peace.
And
He was. It was so quiet. Nobody. I was the only person that knew he passed in that room. I was the only one. No, it was my sister and his cousin was sitting there talking, but like before they came in, it was just he and I, and he was like, Mama. I was like, what's up? And he put his hand down. So I grabbed his hand. I was like, what's going on? He said, I can't see. I said, what? I said, Brendan, I said, you seen, you know, your cousin was pregnant last night. And he was like, well, I mean, I see bright lights. And I was like, okay. And he was like, yeah. I was like, okay. I said, I said, do you see anybody? He said, no, I see figures. I said, are you scared? He said, no. I said, well, I was like, well, Brandon, close your eyes. You know, the lights are bright. He was like, I don't want to. I said, okay. I said, let's pray. And we prayed. No. I think I may have asked, I said, what do you want to wear? He was like, for what? And I just kind of sat there and I was like, do you want to wear a Nike suit? Because we all know all he wore was athletic clothes. And he was like, no. I said, well, do you want to wear blue? No, we went through color. I went through colors. I was like black, gray, because he's colorblind. So he only wore black and gray. I was like black, gray. He was like, no. I said blue. He said yes. I said, what color shirt? He was like, I don't know. I was like, okay. I said, let's pray. And we prayed. And that was the hardest thing for me because I said, take my son. I don't want him going through this. God, please accept my son into the gates of heaven. And he kind of let out like he was relieved. And then I said, are you scared? He said, no. I said, are you suffering? He said, yes. I said, are you worried? He said, yeah, Mom, I'm worried. I said, are you worried about me? He was like, yes. I said, you know, I'm gonna be okay. I said, your brothers? He was like, yes. And then he was like, my son. My son. I said, I got your son. And he said, okay. I said, Brendan, I said, it's okay. I was like, stop. We don't want you to suffer. And he said, okay. And then he was like, I'm going to go to sleep. I was like, okay. And then I sat down on the couch and I said, I'm proud of you. He said, Mom, I'm proud of you. I said, I love you. He said, I love you. And the last thing he said, he was like, we good. we got this. And then I sat there, and like Tyrus and them had came in, but I'd already watched him. Mm-hmm. And so they're sitting there talking, and the nurse came in and she's like, "Oh, Mr. Mitchell, your medicine is it's time for your medicine." And then she would start looking at him, and then she looked at me, and I just kind of shook my head, and she looked again, and she's touched him or whatnot, and then she called another nurse in, and then they just was like, "I'm sorry," and I just started walking out the room, and my sister said I just started screaming. I don't really remember. I didn't even know I called my boyfriend and told him that, like, I think my son gonna die today. When I was when I came out the room, he was running down the hallway. And my sister was like, "You was just screaming, he's my son." And I was like, I don't remember that. I mean, I know it happened, obviously, but. And they let us stay for, oh my God, hours. But I mean, what would I say to a mom that's going through this, or a dad? Because people leave out dads. That pisses me off so bad. It's just one day at a time. I don't allow people to tell me that, oh, it's going to get better, because it's not. This is someone that I carried, I raised, and then I carried again because I had to take care of him. So it's not. I can't say it's going to be manageable. I just will say find a reason to get up every day. If it's in their honor, if it's their child, the people that I know that lost their child, their kids didn't even have they don't have grandkids. So I've been through feeling guilty because my friends didn't have kids. Their kids didn't have kids, but just find something to get up and get up every day. And if it's a day you don't want to get out of bed, don't.
Right.
If you don't want to brush your teeth or take a shower for a week, so what? Don't. Don't let people push you. Just do it on your own time. And be selfish. Next year is going to be a very selfish year for me.
I want to input on a selfish quote. I don't like the word selfish personally, because I feel like a person only consider you selfish because you won't do their will. Mm-hmm. So, and I understand the first law of nature is self-preservation. So who can tell you best on what's best for you than you?
That's right.
So never count yourself selfish. It's your will.
Right.
It's your will. You have that option. You have that right.
Yeah.
So again, like you said, if you don't feel like getting up, that's how you coping. That's how you just because I'm gonna put myself in there. My perception of your action don't fall in line on what I think is right doesn't make yours wrong.
That's right.
With that being said, you're doing well.
You are.
You're making changes. You're sacrificing still, and you're keeping your son legacy alive, which is through his son, his desires. They're still here.
Yeah.
Right.
You're still in place. You gave birth to him, like you just said. So you're still the light being that, unfortunately, a part of you went to the source, which is God, which make you even more connected because, as that energy that your son was still reflects down, you're still projecting him. And God is using this. You're God's soldier. You're God's soldier. Yeah. Sometimes it takes your own kids to let you know who you are.
Yeah. it was very humbling. It was a very humbling experience. And he definitely did. He definitely did. He taught me a lot. It was heartbreaking, but he definitely taught me, like, hey, do what you want to do. If you want to do it, he's like, Mama, just do it. And I'm always concerned about, what everybody
Other
think.
people.
Right.
Mhm.
I have a tone, so, that means she has an attitude. Now it's like,
Don't care. Yeah.
not even sorry.
And the rebuttal for that is everybody had an attitude depending on what you perceived of my attitude.
Right.
Exactly.
The offense comes from the person taking
Receiving
it
it.
because basically your attitude is your energy,
Right.
your state of mind. Why should I quiet, or what gives me the right to quiet you?
Right. I used to dumb down a lot, or kind of like, now it's like, okay. Because that's how he was, like,
Well,
like, Mama, oh, well, Mama.
right. And I'm loving to hear about who Brandon was. Again, I personally didn't know him.
Right.
I met you probably.
I was going to the funeral. Yeah.
No, I think I met her when y'all was over there on the other side of Daniel Dale.
We was in Duncan.
Oh,
yeah.
when we went to her house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we went to her
Duncan
house.
He was alive.
Brandon was
Yeah, but I
alive.
didn't get to see him.
Oh,
You
I
he
didn't-
was playing basketball.
Yeah, I didn't get to meet him that time, and
I think
know,
you met
y'all
the other
were-
boys.
Right.
He met the
Yeah.
other
Brandon
kids.
wasn't there.
Yeah.
yeah, but and it happened so fast because when she told me, he was like, "You remember my friend?"
It was
You know, she-
unexpected.
I honestly think you did meet him. Didn't he come out he was in a black car?
Oh, well, then that was Brandon.
He was in a
had
black car. He
dreads.
pulled up. He had dreads. You probably seen him.
I've probably seen him,
And
but
he
I
just-
didn't interact
Yeah.
with him.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I'm pretty much a person. When I meet you, I remember you. I could go back to what we was doing at the time. So
Right.
yeah.
So yeah, you didn't really get a chance to.
I
No,
didn't
he
get-
was
get to
probably,
know
you
him.
never know what Brandon was about to do. I'm finding race meets videos. I was like, hey, you know what?
But
Yeah.
I mean, for the most part, the description I'm getting and what everybody else is gonna see about Brandon, he was a fighter.
He was a soldier.
He
And
was
it
a
was so funny
soldier.
because he was quiet.
He truly believed and loved God. That's what you telling me about your son. He encouraged you to be that soldier that you're meant to be.
Yeah.
So definitely,
Yeah.
Brandon made a big impact in this
Mhm.
world. He left a legacy. Got his offspring here that you still nurturing.
Yep.
My
And
bookie.
you like
That's my bookie.
You like the what is it? The movie Woman King. She's the soldier,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
just look at yourself as a soldier in the army of the Lord.
Amen.
Yeah.
And your top general, you put him on earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he was directing, by God to direct you,
Right.
because you probably wouldn't. I ain't hearing nothing else. This my baby.
Mm-hmm.
This my baby.
Yep.
Can't nobody else could
No,
have
for
told
real.
you.
That is
Nobody else would have told you whatever he told you. You probably been like, man, I ain't trying to hear that, but he told you that.
Yep.
And now you going the way that, God wants you to go.
Yep.
Eventually, you know what I'm saying? It takes from us. Like, I mean, my son tests me all the time.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time.
And I feel like I hope you could fight because your mouth too slick.
Jordan.
No.
That's my Jordan. I'm like, boy, do you know how little you are?
Like I be afraid for him sometimes. Like
Yeah.
my son, my only son.
And he
And
is
I have a
9.
son. No, he's 8. He's
8.
about to be 9. Son and daughter. And I mean,
They
when
both
I
be
tell-
testing him, honey.
when I tell you, but I know my daughter probably she gonna be like sarcastic or whatever. But my son, he's gonna test you mentally,
Physically, emotionally.
He will, and he'll look at you and he'll sit there and just look at you and you be like, I'll be like, CJ. I'll be like, you know what?
Yeah.
I walk outside.
He will go outside.
Yeah, I'm gonna go outside because CJ, boy. But these reflections, these mini us,
Right.
these carbon copies
Right.
that we need to perfect in areas. They'll try us, but they'll also direct us.
That's right.
Because they make personally, my children are one of the main reasons why I don't give up.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
They're watching you.
They're watching us. Yep. They're imitating. They are projecting the same things they see. So we have to try to do better in certain areas. Refine ourselves. That way they can pick up on what we want them to be.
Right.
Generally, you have the sole duty of making sure. I remember, and I don't want to say too much, but she was mentioning when y'all were talking about branding. He said, "Make sure my son ain't soft." For the people in the back, you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Yeah, he had a couple of quotes on that one. He was like.
Yeah. So, and I'm only saying that for the people watching. So you,
right?
But I've been close to the transition that you guys took place. I went to the funeral. I just didn't feel comfortable going inside.
I don't know who was there.
Yeah.
I just know I didnn't know that people couldn't get in.
I know what I didn't feel comfortable because I felt like I didn't know him, and I barely had just met you.
Mm-hmm.
But I was there for the support because it meant so much to her.
Girl, I didn't even see. I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
Like I literally, people tell me I don't remember. I know I got up and I talked. I have no idea what I said.
Yeah.
And I know that his son played the whole funeral. He had no idea what was going on because he was 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I've seen a lot of people showing their support there as well, but I personally when it's, I personally can't say I had an impact like that because it's like I've been close, with my son. That was the most scariest part, but through prayer and everything else. But you're a soldier. I can't say nothing else.
Yeah. A strong
because
soldier.
A strong soldier. Yep. Just even being able to come here and sit and open up. And you said you haven't been through counseling, so that lets me know God is grounded.
That's correct.
In you.
I start soon.
Hey, no judgment.
I do. I start because the part of that, and I don't mean to interject, is because if I start really kind of talking about it, then I have to the reality hit. Like sometimes I'll think about him and then I'm like, I'll block it out.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I'm just up at night, and I have to say, Brandon, please just let me get some sleep because your brain is going. I really can't drive. I drive, but I've went way past where I'm supposed to go because my brain is just going through.
Constantly.
Yep.
Constantly.
I don't like driving past UT Southwestern. So, yeah. I mean, it is what
it's
it
still
is.
A work in process.
It is, but a part of you said you don't like the word selfish. I use the word selfish is because I'm always there for somebody. Yeah. Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do? She know I've not made it home sometimes at 10, 11 at night doing things for other people. And the answer is no.
Yeah.
Now the answer is no. I've had to listen to people and parents that have lost a child probably go through this too. Somebody will call me and crying and upset and Brandon, and I'm listening to this person, and it's just like, imagine how his mom feel.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't think they mean it in a selfish way. I think they're looking for comfort. But now I'm to the point, like, just imagine how his mom feel. Like, you're upset, you're crying, you know.
And at that moment, I would have to be selfish, and I would have to say it.
I have
Not think it. I would have to say it.
I have told people
Okay.
that. I have gotten to where at first I used to be like, we're gonna be okay, blah blah blah. Now I will let them say it all and then just say, imagine being pregnant with him.
Yep.
Imagine having
Being there
him.
all his life, and
I
then
know what
it's just
time he
taken
was
away.
born. I
Yep.
know how much he weighed. I know that he was the biggest crybaby ever.
You know his favorite food. You know his favorite. You know.
I know. I
Yeah.
know. I know when you lying, bro.
No, seriously.
I know when them eyes change colors. Why your eyes green now? Who made you mad?
Right.
I know the child done told me his whole life.
Yeah.
Do we get what I'm like, son, you shouldn't be telling your mama that.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine that.
Right.
And then imagine him not feeling good. Imagine him taking his rag off. Mama, I lost
And
my
then his
dreads.
hairs.
Imagine being online trying to find him a prosthetic and then him saying, yeah, then no. Then imagine him like, okay, well, mama, it's this time of the year. I go buy him a bunch of beanies, go buy him a bunch of this. Just imagine that. Imagine him in the bathroom and you hear him like, oh my God. And then you have to go in the bathroom because he can't stand up. Then imagine that. And you telling me your sorrow. I don't want to hear it all the time.
Right.
And I'm sorry, I don't.
Yep.
So, in other words, your tolerance and opening to understand, you don't even want to give them a reply at times.
At times, because it's like, just imagine his mom.
Right.
Just imagine having to get up every single day or accidentally call his name.
Yeah, for the people in the back that's not understanding the true suffering behind
It's
a loss
so
of a child.
terrible. When you're used to saying, Brandon, come here, and then everybody in the room is like, you're saying Jordan, Brandon, and you're not meaning to even call Brandon. You're calling Jordan, but Jordan's not coming to the room.
Right.
Or imagine my 13-year-old who's used to having his brother in the house. Now he's by himself.
Right.
Imagine that's the only person in the group chat, the family group chat, that's not chatting back.
Right.
I just turned his phone off because people would still text his phone. I can't get in the phone because I don't know the password. So I would just see the number and comment like, who is this?
Right.
Oh, I was asking Brendan to
Don't
watch
even
over
know.
me, blah, blah, blah.
Oh.
They would know. They sent him, they would ask him to pray for him, the basketball community, his cousins. One of my sisters would still text his phone because that's what they would do. And they would
Like on a sense of relief or coping
Just
with
the
the
coping.
loss.
Yeah,
just
coping mechanism.
just because
This-
they could text
Yep.
it.
Yep.
Wow.
And I just built up the nerve to turn his phone off. We still don't have the grave. That we don't still have his headstone down because when I get there, I can't even talk to try to get it out. Tell her what I want, and she just told me, she was like, "It's okay not to be ready. It's okay that he doesn't have a marker. Stop being upset about him not having a marker, because you're going to." We have stuff out there,
Right.
but I want his headstone. But she was like, but if you do it too fast, then you're not going to be satisfied.
Right. Now, and that's things that, you know, the people on the outside looking in don't take into consideration.
They don't see it.
You know, and for those who are close to someone dealing with a situation like yours, and as a parent, you know, you got to understand the parent. You got to take in consideration. Let's check on mama and daddies that lost theirs. You know,
Heavy on the
not
dads. Heavy on the
Heavy.
dads. Let's stop acting like dads are not. And that's one thing I like about his dad. He had a support system, and like
Everyone's just concerned about the mother. How's the mother?